because voice tone tells me what vibrational frequency people are in. And the fact that you talk here and then you drop in deeply, right, means that you have a wide range of vibratory frequency that you utilize. Right? Have you ever noticed that some people just talk up here and they're really fast about this stuff and they haven't grounded it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where it goes right to the earth, right? And just to let you know that you could probably put anybody into trance just like that.
Yeah.
Okay, because yeah,
But
I know.
fine tune it. So because this is the part of what I'm doing, I'm like an antenna. So I'm tuning in other people to their more of their essence as well as you are doing. But the attunement for me happens more like a reflection. So I go after the vibratory level, and then I will slowly drop them into the space of where they can receive the exchange of energy and the fine tuning.
I do the same thing. It's the same. You match where they are and you just start inching them down into that grounded, where they're taking the highest vibrational frequency and grounding it to the earth. You see, people have this tendency to think that they meditate or they do something and they go to this place and then they have to come back here. No, you got to bring that here, right? And spread it here and be it here.
Yeah. And actually, that's so beautiful that you mentioned it, because that's what I want to talk about too, about I've gotten this name about the net, the New Earth transmission, which is funny to me because there's nothing about a new Earth. The Earth is the Earth, and it's already as it is. All the realities that we wish to shift into are already present, right? And we both know this. But people sometimes tend to separate themselves from these ideas that they have of the ideal paradise or the ideal space or habitat that they want to be present in, instead of just bringing it over here. And this is so good that you're mentioning that, because that's one of the main topics that I want to do with these 22 podcasts, is to actually bring people into the awareness of what they can do right here, right now, and not talk in terms of us and them. As in us, we are the light worker community, and we do so much for so many people, and they have no clue, and they, right? Instead of just going in and meeting everybody, no matter what their profession or profound interest is, with them, with their abilities that they have discovered. Yeah. So I know this is a part of what you're doing, that you are lifting that veil off people, lifting that veil of separation and bringing them into direct connection with Source.
So there was an alternate reality pushed upon us. And this alternate reality states that, you're just a human, you can't do anything, you're stuck, you're spiraling downwards, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you take a look at what society is feeding us, force feeding us, the truth is that you came in magical. You came in knowing this, you came in with a mission, a purpose to shift the vibration here, but yet you got hypnotized like everybody else did. That there's this one reality, right? And it's bogus because there's multiple realities. With every new thought and feeling that you create within yourself, you create a new reality that you can either follow along or go back and say that, no, there's only one reality, and it's on a downward spiral. I don't buy it. I've seen too many people and worked with too many people and seen too many different realities to say that there's one reality. There isn't. We're all creating in the moment. And this new paradigm, this new consciousness, that's moving into the planet that I like to call the magical consciousness, is awakening us to this idea, this state of being, that we are the ones creating everything in this moment, and we don't have to wait for the group collective to change its mind, because that's waiting forever. But to start now and create your own, right? And when we do that, then we bring ourselves out, and then others ask questions and want to know what that is and join along with. And that might spread to a lot of people, which it will. But doing it from the point of view, we can't change or shift the vibration of the planet until the whole collective comes in. That's like waiting for Jesus Christ to return. He went for a pack of smokes and he never came back. Literally. I mean, I hate to be that crude, but I mean, we've been waiting 2,000 years for the return, right? Guess what? It's time for us to step into who we truly are. If you take a look at some of the ancient writings, the ancient works, Greek mythologies, they all talk about the fact that we are this God. We are it. But this is part of that hypnosis you were talking about, or that diversion that happened to humanity, where they started to think that they were less than. And who am I to, be one with source, let alone source itself, right? But we are, because every day we create our own reality. Every day we're doing it, right? If I go on too much, just put your hand up and say, Dwaine, shut up. Right?
No, I love to listen, because I feel your transmission too. I mean, there's stuff happening to my body as well while you're talking. Even though I've heard it several times and I've listened to your transmissions many times, it's always new things coming in. So not so much about what you say as what you send out, what you emanate. Yeah.
The energy, if I can explain it, the energy behind it is so pointed and so steadfast, and so the energy behind the transmission, right? It's like, we got to get this, right? We got to get this, that we're
I feel like, and I've gone through this myself too, as we are discovering certain beliefs about who we are also discovering these beliefs of the persona, as if God is contained within one persona, within the ego, or within that identification that we hold on to of who we want to be, or who we think that we are, or who we are told to be even. And when we let that go of the imagery of what a God looks like in our eyes, in our identification, we can also let go of the idolization, right? And I feel like that idolization is all about separation. Like, we're separating the image of the divine into certain personas, instead of seeing how it is this energy, this transmission that you're talking about, and that I'm talking about, that is just within us and around us and everywhere in every part of life, if we wish to tune into it.
If you want to see the divine, look in the mirror.
Yeah.
There she is. There he is. And your resistance to accept that is the difficulty equals the difficulty you live in life. Because your denial of who you are is what's separating you out from a multi-dimensional reality that you have complete freedom in. You see, if enough of us don't need to, just ourselves do it, right? We step out of the matrix completely. We enter into our own time. You see, time is governed by Chronos, that creator of time. It was another level of separation or descent from the ladder of ascension and descension. time was one of it, because we're in something else's time. But when you declare your own time, this is my game, my rules, I'm in my own time, then you can be in your own time within the matrix with your own rules, right? Because remember, in the beginning, we entered into this and we signed a contract, basically, stating that we would play the game to come to a certain point in our life where we have an opportunity to step out. Now, a lot of people aren't reaching that. They're not stepping out, right? You know, there's quite a few that aren't, and there's quite a few that are. They're reaching a certain point in their life and they're going, hey, there's got to be something different than this. And they start to question it and they step out. And then they look at that contract and they say, look, I signed this when I wasn't of age. You have to be 18 years old. By your own rules, it's over, right?
Exactly, and that's another point too, where it's this, where I feel, at least in my generation, and I believe a lot of people gone through this in the 60s too, with the whole revolutionary, that other wave, and there's been many waves of this, of ascension actually. Many believe that this is happening right now, and it has only happened right now, which is true because we're home now, right? But if people look at a linear time and they feel stressed because they feel like there's so much responsibility on the light worker community that we have to evolve fast enough collectively to assist everybody else, to save everybody else, right? The fact that I can come back to that every day and just say, like, hey, there is no stress. Everything is happening right now, and we have all been happening right now simultaneously. It just gives me such relief. It gives me such relief, and it gives me so much self-love, actually, to really, it gives me a space enough to breathe, right?
When you lose that piece that we all have to do it in order for it to think about it. If there was something there that was holding humanity back, wouldn't that be one way that they would hold them back? Is to say you can't ascend unless all of you ascend at once. Yeah. Because there's no possible way you're going to convince everybody unless you're going to go around and do what they did back in the day, where you convert or you're going to lose it, right? You can't do that stuff. But nobody's talking about the singularity. You, me, we can do this. Mm-hmm. And as we do it, we show others how to do it just by our actions. Mm-hmm.
And by our presence.
Because we can't float in here in this dimension without affecting the rest of them. That's the way it works. So as you raise vibration, the vent energy is going out and tickling and dancing with everybody else. They're going, oh, I feel a different freedom here, for out of nowhere, because that's how it works, right? And the more that we're doing that and ascending on our own, and there's no responsibility. There is none. The only thing you have to do is take care of your own desires that you would like to experience. You desire something. The other half of you that's called Source becomes it so that you can go through it, so that you send the information back to Source Energy on what it is. That's the original reason for existence, right?
Yeah, that was...
And people have lost it completely. They're over here doing all kinds of stuff. And all it is a personal one-to-one relationship with yourself, which is Source Energy. Mm-hmm. An old man told me a story one time. I don't know if you like stories.
I like stories when they involve key phrases and metaphors. So yes, I love your stories. Please tell me.
So this old fella told me a story once about the beginning. Yeah. He said, in the beginning, there was nothing. No sight, no sound. Just nothing. Out of the nothingness, something became aware of itself. And when it did, it split into two. How long it was in that nothingness, who knows? But when it split into two, it was so happy that something else was with it. And it said, let's go discover what we are. And so this is source energy. And this is who?
Source energy.
You.
The mirror.
Source needed a mirror. We all need a mirror. But Source needed you to go and explore. Now more and more and more were created to go and explore. But what we're really supposed to be doing here is just simply desiring an experience, going through it, and sending the information to source energy. That's it. And so it gets really, really simple, really.
Yeah. So
now, your desire is whatever it is.
Thank you. So what is the? I would love to hear your interpretation then of. I don't know how deep entrenched into the Facebook hippie lightworker community you are, but I have been quite entrenched just because I find it very interesting with all these stories. But how would you describe the act of transmutation? Because I do believe in transformation, but transmutation is, I would say, another part of transformation that gets a little bit more complicated, or can be more complicated, because for a lot of people it is experienced on such a physical level as well. How would you explain that? What is it?
Transmutation is nothing more than the release of denial. Ascension is nothing more than the release of denial. The only problem, the only sin there is that you won't admit you're God.
Exactly.
Okay, so when you understand that by releasing all of the stuff that you play with yourself with to keep yourself, and you start letting it go and entering into your true nature of who you are, then you have transmutation, you have transformation, you have ascension. All of it is happening because you're just letting go. See, to explain it properly is that in this creation of a singularity reality that they did, they created what's called ego consciousness. And ego consciousness, if you have pain, if you have suffering, that's all ego, right? But there's another part of you, a part of you that you came in with that you deny. I'm not saying you.
No, I know.
Okay, that humanity denies. And that is who they came in as. They came in as little gods and goddesses who already knew, who, when they tried to express it, family, friends, whatever, said, shut up, put it in a box. You see, that's where the hypnosis starts.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I would call the fire alarm. They shut me down.
So when we have children, and in children, we're doing this to them, they start to have behavior problems. Why? Because they're little gods having to go into a box. And they resent that. So when parents come to me and say, my child is being very, very rebellious right now and whatever, I said, good. And I look at the kid, keep it up, right? Never put that in a box. You are, express this. So the thing that is that that's the problem with humanity, full stop, is they put this aspect of themselves in a box. They were convinced to do that, right? So when we remove, and we get it's a habit to look for reasons to keep that in the box, okay? I'm going to do some therapy here, I'm going to do this something here. Well, if it doesn't smack of you coming back into your own source energy, your own God self, your own whatever, you might take a look at it and see if it's not just diversion to keep you in the box.
Exactly. And that's where a lot of people get stuck in this healing loop. This belief that we're not whole already. That we're
already whole. Yeah. Yeah.
So, because to me, like you say, like pain and suffering is just, it's a signal.
Ego.
It's leaving. Yeah, it's a signal to communication. It's like something that has been suppressed that is now emerging and now is ready to leave and transform.
Sure.
And so when people get stuck in this healing loop, especially if they have a lot of money to spend on it, a lot of energy to invest in it, there is like this huge diversion that I see going on that really is like...
Yeah, we're not going to give you the full truth, and sometimes a lot of them don't know it. So, but we're not going to give you the full truth, because if I do, I'm going to lose my paycheck, right?
Exactly. And if I do, I might be sending clients because they might get too upset with what I'm saying. You know?
And from what I know about you and myself, we're not cut from that cloth. It's like, fasten your seatbelts because you're going to shift. And if you can't handle the shift, well, let me know. You can have a breather, but this is what you're going to get. You're going to get a shift when you come, right? Yeah. It's not, we're not playing,
We're not playing with fire because we are fire, because source is that light, that all-changing, transforming light.
One thing that we need to face is, real quickly, is the fact that there's the ego self, and then there's the infinite. There's the God self, the goddess self. There's that part that you came in as, right? And so everything else, the suffering, everything is all ego world and all ego stuff. And so by us buying into the ego, we buy into their program of because they can control you through your ego. But as the infinite self, I am the light that shines through my eyes. I have never been born, nor will I ever die. I'm eternal. I have always been. I am in my own time and my own space. I have my own laws within that time and space. You see, that shakes them to the quick. Because if we start waking up to the fact that who we really are, the game is over for them. And we don't have to fight them. It's just like playing in the playground. And they start playing that game that was so rough, and we all walk away and leave the rough ones there. Well, pretty soon they come trailing along behind, trying to find company again. Humanity just makes this choice of what feels better and what feels, and we don't fight. We don't have to argue or beat anybody up. We just turn and start to manifest our own realities. And then the game's over.
And that's interesting what you say with turning, because I feel like there is this, I myself have gone through very rapid, like, decoding, so to say.
Yes.
And it just shows that my 2 kids were born, and then I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm not, And then I cut away, so to say, cut. I don't believe in actual cutting because we're all connected, but like you say, turning or tuning into something different. I've been choosing not to connect so deeply with a lot of people and places and all sorts of things, that I put my energy into. People believe that this is an act of separation, but in this paradoxical realm, it is actually the opposite. It's unification. Yeah. And so that's my take on it. But how would you describe that? Because a lot of people, for example, when you say they, or I say people, you know, we give phrases to something external. This whole idea of unification puts people in a loop where they actually also think that they should include everything to be in union, to be in Christ consciousness or heart consciousness.
I know.
So what is your take on that? I'm so curious to hear that.
Value your own vibration. That's self-love. And so if something is resonating at a different vibration, then you don't have to, you can love and allow it to be, but walk away. And so people have this tendency, well, there's this vibration going on here and I got to go fix it, get off it, because a lot of times that's a trap. And you'll end up spiraling your own energy down to where you'll never get it back for, right? Yeah. And when you do, you'll go, what did I do that for? So it really is about valuing your vibration. So what you're sharing with me here about, there are some things that you're doing where you're distancing yourself from certain vibrations, right? Continue. All vibrations exist here. And you get to choose for yourself what vibration you want to remember, there's the original relationship with source energy. And that original relationship is you have a desire that's fun, exciting, and delightful. Source energy becomes it. You go through it, experience it, and send a vibration back. Now, what part of difficulty, suffering, abuse, I mean, that's up to you if you focus on it and you want it. Yeah. I love and allow you. But you also at some point have to feel, where do I want to go? And so it's kind of like, I don't know, there's the ocean and the rocks and the, you know, whatever. And you can be, you know, it's kind of painful to swim over the rocks, you know what I mean? On land, you know? Why would you do that? Yeah. I mean, I don't judge the rock and say, you know, you should be smoother, you should be whatever. Here, let me help you be smoother. You just go back to the water and swim in the water where it's soft. But, you know, people get tricked into doing too many things. You know,
just like walking into like a kid in a candy store, like these things that we get fooled by society that there is infinite amount of options for, let's say, beverages or magazines or foods or clothing. And so I know, because I find it difficult to choose sometimes too, you know. You have so many options that you're like, I want that and I want that and I want that. And then the trick is that you are made to believe that you can only have one thing, or maybe two, at the same time. But you don't have to have any of that, which is presented. You can have all of it if you wish to at the same time, but you can also choose something that is completely different.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes very difficult to fathom when you feel like, for example, you are in a pit full of rocks and you're looking for the ocean, but you can't find it, and all that you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you find the ocean then? And what would you tell people that are feeling like they are in a pit full of rocks? Do you have clients coming to you?
There's what you do, because in this system that we grew up in, one of the biggest things that they tried to rewire and wire out of the human being was your own imagination. It's your imagination that will take you out of the pit of rocks and into the ocean. And how that happens is, it's not just imagining walking out, it's imagining what it will feel like in the ocean. So what's going to happen here soon is that as we advance, as everything, you know, they're clamoring right now to keep control of something that they can't control anymore, our natural evolution. But the next thing is that what are people going to do with their natural evolution when they get catapulted out into the fact that they're completely and totally free without an imagination?
Yeah.
See?
They're going to go back into it. Yep.
They're going to go back to what is familiar. Now, a lot of people have said, and I kind of believe this, that if there was such a thing as the planet ascending, it's already done it. We just haven't caught up. We're still don't know how to utilize our imagination yet to bring ourselves out of it. So you're talking about from the gravel pit into the ocean. As simple as it sounds, what does it feel like, look like, and sound like for you to be in the ocean? And then you let your body feel those sensations and be those sensations as if you already are. And then you hold that. Now, your reality, your outside reality, can't live a contradiction to what you feel as a self-image. And so it'll start to shift it. It's the desire. And source becomes it, and the next thing you know, you're in it. So the thing with this is that the funny thing, I hear people talking about wanting to manifest all the time, and they want to manifest the car, the money, the whatever, but they're not manifesting the state of being that it takes to hold that. Imagination, your state of being, is the key to your Merkaba to travel from one place to another. So when you hold that vibration inside of you, as a self-image, this is who I am. I am freer than this, whatever it is that's going on in your life. This is what I am. And you hold that strong feeling inside of yourself. Your reality will morph. And I'm not saying it's going to morph when you open your eyes. It can. I'm not going to deny that. I've seen that happen. But usually it takes a little bit of you holding that, being tested a little bit and saying, no, I'm staying here. And all of a sudden your reality starts to change and you find yourself in a new place. And then you learn how magical you really are. Yeah. In a moment.
That's literally what happens to me all the time, though. But
yes.
What happened to me now, we were going to talk, right? We were going to have a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I was going through a period where I was in this place where I was living a life that was based upon a pattern, specifically housing that I had done several times before, and I had gone through a lot of places that wasn't my own places, that was belonging to my family or friends, that I was like house cleaning, but energetically, you know. And I thought it was a good bargain because I got to live, you know, for free, or live like, you know, I didn't have to think about it. But then after a while, it just dawned on me. I was like, why am I doing this? I was like, what? Why am I choosing this, you know, when I want something else, you know? And then, smack like that, I started to get really sick. Like, a lot of dis-ease came out of my body. And I was like literally floored for a week or something.
Yes.
And then the moment that I recovered, let's say, or uncovered, the electricity completely went out in the entire flat. I was like, what is this? And then I found out that, you know, the person's apartment that I was living in hadn't paid the bills for a numerous amount of time, but this was nothing that this person knew or that I knew beforehand. I had done this change. And then so after a week's time, I was like sitting with no electricity at home. And I was like, well, I can't live like this. I have no choice. I have to think about something else. So I just, instead of thinking, I was like feeling. And I was talking to my kids and I was like, all right, you guys, you want to live in the city or out of the city? Oh, yeah. Out of the city. All right. What else can we do? What else can we have? You want to live with friends or without friends? Oh, with friends. Okay. All right. And so we just started to like create our own reality, and within like a few days of time, we basically come out, and it happened so fast.
For anyone listening to this, rewind that and pay attention, because that's how it works. That's how come in our world right now they're projecting to us so much fear, destruction, violence, is so that it changes your feeling inside. It keeps you confused. But when you get in charge of your own feelings and you go inside and play like this, like a child again, and imagine it and feel it and get excited about it and dance with it, that's how you change things. All of a sudden, and listen, how long did it take, Eyvaa?
All in all, it took, well, from the point where I made a decision, it took about 11 or 12 days.
See? And if you don't have time to wait for 11 or 12 days, just think about how long it's been since you've done anything like that and lived the same patterns over and over again. And are you continuing to want to live the same old patterns? Because the patterns will be there. It's called, it's called psychological laziness, right?
Yeah.
And all it is laziness in the sense that you don't want to use your imagination and play and to bring that back. And it's not really laziness. You've been shamed to use it.
Exactly. You've been shamed to believe that it is something that can be real or that actually is real. So you're not allowing yourself to step into that imagery of the heart or that feeling, that sense, or like all the senses utilized.
So as we're evolving here, and it's going to happen, we're going to pop through to a point where we're going to be the infinite. Now, guess what? With the infinite, there's no past, there's no future, there's the present moment and a blank slate in front of you that you need to project into. This is the training ground before we head into that.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's coming. And if you don't have the wherewithal to produce something in that, because honest to God, that is the way it is now. But you see, people play with their past so much, they're regurgitating their past and throwing it out in front of them and reliving the same Groundhog Day all the time. And wondering why they're so bored and so, I can't stand this life and I can't whatever. Well, of course, all that's happening is you're regurgitating the past over and over again like a pattern. But when you stand on the precipice and realize who you are, there is nothing in front of you. And there never has been. It's always been that way. You get to play and put stuff in there and live it. So yes, responsibility. But people, they hate that word responsibility. But yet, look at all the crazy things you have been responsible for.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this is easy.
It's easy because it allows you to receive joy and pleasure and
Yes.
an infinite amount of it.
Yes.
And, I mean, it's this constant suppression too of that allowance. Because
Exactly.
I feel like when I'm working with clients and one-on-one, I find myself sometimes getting bored because I feel like I have to imagine for them.
Yes.
Because I don't even know, some people don't even know how to imagine, like we talked about a beach.
Yes.
How to feel to be on a beach. Where they can see a beach maybe, or they can think about a beach, but it's not about thinking. It's about really discovering how it is to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to me because it is important for people to go back into their stories and to heal those stories, because what we do, we're not really changing time, we're just changing the experience of that experience so that people can leave that, so people can drop that, let that go instead of holding on to it. But once we're done going through that catalog of stories, then we can actually start
Yes.
to create new stories.
And I might have to differ a little bit on that one thing that you were saying. I do think it changes everything. I do think that when you change something in the past, you change it all the way up to the present moment. It'll happen. It'll be a vibration that goes of freedom that goes all the way to the present moment when it's done right. And that unhooks you from the past.
Exactly.
And then there will come a time where you can unhook the past altogether because you realize it's only your own interpretation of the past.
Exactly. Yeah. That was what I was saying. Like you are done going through
yes
pages of the catalog. You can let that go and let that book go. Let that story.
And that's where sometimes with some of the techniques I'm hearing out there that people are buried in, like they're really buried in doing the past work. Well, it doesn't have to take long, but yet they're spending years doing the past work. You know, I have countless over the years clients that say to me, you know, I've been in therapy for years. How come in 4 sessions it's over? And I go, well, because I really meditated on it a long time and come up with ideas and concepts to help people get through that quickly, because I'm aware of your vibration and I don't want to shift your vibration by doing past work where we get buried in the pain again. We need to be able to do it in a light heart, freedom, and take care of it though at the same time, right? But do it in a light way. And that then doesn't change your present moment vibration so that you don't end up going back into that same vibration. Remember, whatever we set forth to source energy as a desire, and that can be a desire of joy, or it can be a mistakenly as a desire of fear or pain or whatever, source energy will become it so that you go through it. So if we go back in the past and we start playing in the past in an inaccurate way, where we're not paying attention to the vibration, people can get stuck in that pain again. Now, guess what? They're remanifesting that pain again, and then it shows up in different ways, but same emotional vibration in their life again. So this is why you see that spiral with people, maybe friends of yours or whatever, is they start going into therapy. The next thing you know, they're on one antidepressant, they're on another antidepressant, and then the next thing you know, they're drinking, and the next thing you know, they're just hitting the refresh button. They're committing suicide, because that method is an old method that needs to go. We need to look at it differently on doing past work, so that it's a light, free way of doing it, so people actually enjoy doing therapy for one thing, and the other, they get quick results from it, right? And they're not sitting there buried in that emotion, remanifesting it again. That's why people are scared of therapy, because they don't innately know, innately know that by going in there and playing with those vibrations, they're going to recreate them again.
Yep.
So there's new ways to do that, people, that you don't have to go through that old process, you know?
No. And I want to say that too, for anybody listening, I really recommend Dwaine's method. I got the pleasure to tune into it once, and it's very similar to what I've done for myself as well, but it just, your presence is this guiding navigation, because you do connect to source in that very efficient and just direct way that really just reflects and reminds you of who you are. And
I basically,
going back to, and whatever moment that we went back to, I had this, you were this anchor for me. So I wasn't stuck in some form of loop, like you said. And it just, it happened very fast, was very light, and I know that you are helping so many people through this method.
And I know you are too. I know that you're this. You see, it's the alignment. When you look through a person's eyes to the source within them and say hello, and it's time to come back to life, something happens inside of them. They're recognized. We all want to be recognized for who we are. Now, we do all kinds of jumping through hoops and odd relationships, painful relationships, all kinds of things, so that and doing all kinds of things in those relationships so that person would finally look at you and say, you know what, I see you. And thank you. But we don't get that because we need to do that. That's something we wanted to receive ever since we were children from our parents. It's the deepest wound. It's the wound where we got ignored for the God and goddess we are and had to take on a different persona and we had to go through the hypnosis to be accepted.
Different faith.
Yeah.
And so you start to identify with that faith, that's when it becomes really disturbed.
That's the ego. That's the creation of the ego right there. The moment we chose, you know what, it's best if I leave what I know, what I came in here with, and what I know, leave it aside, because if I want to eat and be close to people and live, I need to abandon this part of me and take on a persona that's being forced. Now you see how we live in an ego world. It becomes a phony face, a phony us, a phony everything. Our truest power is what we left back there as children. And it's time to bring that up and forward and start living the lie.
Yeah. And I remember that you said, I was watching this because I love Hyra's work too.
Oh, yes.
Eyvaa Hartman.
Yes. She's delightful, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. And she's doing this New Earth program now too, about just awakening people to Mother Gaia, to her ascension. And she's been doing this all the time, of course. But you were having a session with her, I think it was the first moment, and you were coming into this almost live session. And I was doing it with you as I was watching it, and it was about becoming your own parent. And you were, guiding her or guiding us to become your own parent. And that's what I feel too about. I have 2 children, for example, and to me they are, a perfect reflection of us as lion and children. And not only just because they are a boy and a girl, but because they are both, and they are all, they are everything, and they have all these aspects. So for me to watch them, I have them part-time, and for me to watch them come back to me, it's almost like me getting in touch with my inner child again. Every time I see them, I'm getting in touch with my inner child, and I can be my own parent in a better way. Because I have to be a parent for them too. And that reminds me all the time about what you said. To me, that's responsibility. Taking ownership of your own experience and becoming your own parent, and allowing you to be that child.
Because you can get everything that you want and that you needed and that you deeply desired from your parents, from yourself. Now, what happens to us psychologically when we finally get those needs met? Well, our relationships change. Of course they do, because a lot of times people are only dating or marrying one of their parents that they had the most issues with.
Oh my God.
Because we have this innate kind of desire to heal that original relationship.
Yeah.
And we can't get away from it until we parent ourselves. and then the pattern stops.
And it's written about in mythology, and we think that it's a collective curse or something. And this whole twin flame thing too, about people being split into two different souls, etc. We are all one soul.
Yeah. The twin is within. And as soon as you meet the other half of yourself, once you meet the male part of you, like I had to meet the female part of me. And that was the most intimate thing that I've ever experienced. Because regardless, we're half male and half female, because it took our mother and father to create us. The biggest thing is that males deny any sort of female within them, because that's what the hypnosis told them to do. Now, when you deny the female within yourself as a male, then you deny the existence of female in the outer world. And so then you stop treating females with any respect. So when you come inside as a male and become into the divine masculine, you have to own both halves, the masculine and the feminine aspect of yourself. And when that union happens, then the union happens out there, and not a minute before. And the same thing with the feminine. So a lot of them want to find their twin flame, but when you hear them talk about men, it's atrocious. But that isn't their idea of a man. Is so, you know what I mean? Like, they just hate them. Well, you're never going to find your twin that way. When you come inside and you realize that that masculine aspect of you and the feminine aspect of you come into union, right? That great love affair inside. Then you wash from you that angst and judgment. Remember, that was on purpose, so that we would never find this resonance. So day after day after day on television, it's played out to us on the programming that people watch. It programs them how to be in the world, where men are abusive to women, or women hate men. And this is playing out all the time. And people are watching it and associating with it. And then next thing you know, reacting to their spouse in the same way.
Yeah, oh my God. We're getting so, like, it's food. It's what we feed ourselves with. And
yes.
The more open we become, the more sensitive we are to that too. So that's awareness about what we feed ourselves with, what's truth. Because you literally channel that afterwards. Whatever if I take a cup of coffee, that day I am coffee all day. I'm like, I can take a cup of coffee, but then with the awareness that I will channel the energy of the coffee, you know. And or if I watch something, let's say if I watch Dwaine, I watch Dwaine like at nighttime. Then after a while, I will also be influenced by you, right? And I will channel that information too. And so we all do, because we are all so connected. And so that way we have to be responsible for what our experience is. That inner union is beautiful when you have the imagination to meet yourself in that way. You can also make deals and new soul contracts and agreements and all that. You know, like I've talked to my male and my masculine self, and we decided that it's not time for partnership in physical life yet.
Yeah.
You know, and we want to do something right here and right now, and his spirit, his energy is with me because he is me, and it's there constantly in every meeting that I have. Both like what we imagine to be, you know, this is another topic, of course, but what we imagine to be sexual to what we imagine to be romantic. But it is all just, it's life force. It's the way that we relate to life force and how we want to keep that in relationship to another person, for example.
Addressing the feminine within me and finding out and talking with her and discovering from the feminine collective. Like it happened one night in a one day in a kind of an opening. I realized that if there is a God, it's not male, because so above, so below. And here, how many males have given birth to a woman?
Unless they have changed.
Yeah, and that's possibility. But how many males, when you think about it, because they don't have that ability to birth life into existence. And so so below, so above, I started seeing, oh my gosh. And when they talked about even the little story I told you about, that source energy came out of the void. What's the void? I started asking what the void is. And the void is not void, it's vagina.
Yeah, vagina, the womb.
It's the mother. And so then I started, holy man, I started going deeper into this and finding out what this void is. And then I seen that the Divine Mother was there. And then I also seen that when I went inside of myself and I went deeper and deeper inside of myself, I came into the atoms, between the atoms, all that into dark energy, what they call dark space. Well, it's not dark space anything. That's where all creation comes out of. So no matter what, both ends ended up being both ends, that it was the feminine energy. So how do you keep a humanity from looking into places you don't want them to look into? You tell them it's dark matter, or it's a void, because they're scared to death of a void.
Yeah.
Okay, so they don't look in either place. But when you do look, you're going to find the Divine Mother. And when I seen that and that connection happened to me, all of a sudden flashes started coming. I seen the mother, I seen the grandmother, I seen the temptress, I seen all aspects of femininity. All aspects of femininity, and embraced that in a male. And it was a bit awkward at first, because it was like, I mean, there was only certain channeled, ideas that I had. But when I did that, then I had great compassion. Sometimes if you notice on Facebook when somebody says they're single, it's like the males just attack.
Yeah.
Right? And I could feel that attack. I could feel what it felt like for a feminine to be attacked like that. Right? I could feel what it's like to walk down the street and every guy whistling and whatever, what that felt like for the feminine. So I broke through into an area where I felt that. I feel that, right? Because it's just for the guys out there, I'm going to tell you, it's a deep threat. It's a deep threat that I don't think most women even have gone to, as to what happens with all of that.
No,
right?
I think it's deep threat for women, because women are being stripped of their femininity, so they rely upon the masculine to give them some form of a mirror, a projection of what they're supposed to be. And so I think it's I notice my ego saying a lot of times when I come in contact with men that have done that healing within themselves and gotten in touch with their femininity in that way. I notice my ego saying, like really trying to bend my mind around what are their sexuality, what are their gender, as if it matters, because me as a woman, I am so unused to meeting that in a man, because we are programmed to just see men in one way, and women supposed to, cover every need in that.
when we come into the divine relationship, right? And there is the union where you look through and you see the God within him, and he sees the goddess within you, and that union happens. The dance happens in emotion and sexuality. To nobody knows what gender each other is, because it goes beyond gender. It goes that sacred experience, that sacred making love or whatever, goes beyond gender. Nobody knows who's got what anymore and cares.
No.
Right?
Yes, and it goes beyond physicality. So
yes.
Now you know. I had a friend today, he wrote on Facebook, actually, he said, if you think you know, then you are confused. If you think that a banana is a banana, and you are you as a person, then you are confused. Because it might be so that a banana is not actually a banana, and you are not who you think you are. And so just as a statement, he wrote much more, but just like that, you know, like it goes beyond the physicality where our physical being is just, now that's where the merge happens, that's where the actual merge happens, where our molecules are combining and exchanging and, you know, forming new energy. And then we come out of that into like, what we think is our old body, but is actually a new created version of ourselves.
As we raise vibration, exactly, you're talking about the dissonance that happens between frequencies. If you take a look at that demonstration they do with sand on a plate with sound frequency, it'll go into a geometric shape. And then as they raise the frequency, it goes into dissonance, and then it reforms again. You see, we're the same thing. As we raise vibration, we go into this place where nothing equals frickin' nothing. Yeah. If you're going to try to put any kind of structure to this, good luck, because this is a total right brain trick. Yeah. Right? And so you're there just whatever, and then it'll start to form. But you need to allow that dissonance to happen so that you can reform. And not grapple for the old vibration so that you have form. Is form as in, you know, your reality has this structure to it. Exactly. So yes, the banana metaphor.
The banana, yes, and the aliens too. But he wrote about it. If you think that she's been visited from an alien, then you might realize that it was really an alien too. Like, you know, yes, it's an alien, but what is an alien? Anyway, like just saying with that, it's beautiful because that's, to me, that's the dance between all the polarity, between the ultimate polarity of form and formlessness, of the void and of creation, where you're dancing in and out. And Ram Dass, I love Ram Dass. He has a beautiful technique. I love him. And he has a beautiful technique where you're breathing in from the void out into creation through the heart, and then you're breathing in creation and you're giving it back to the void. And so you're doing this numerous amount of time. I don't know for how long of time, but it's just so powerful and it's so simple.
And guys, you can clear your timeline with that. I'm going to share with you that will clear your timeline. So if you've had thoughts, ideas, concepts, whatever in the past that, you know what I mean, built up, you have ideas. What I'm talking about, ideas of cause and effect ideas. You know, if I do this, this will happen, right? It's all, neither end will happen. You can use a cause and effect pattern for anything in your life. Because I do this, I'm going to experience this, and it'll happen. Because, and you don't need to even hardly believe it, because that's how human beings are wired. So you can start playing with that. You know, as I take a drink of water, I flush away all my whatever you put in as I do this, this will happen. It'll happen, right?
Yeah.
You wonder why the world is in the shape it's in, because they're telling us that this causes that, this causes this. Nothing causes anything, right? But if you let that in, it does.
Mm-hmm. It's
So
ever since Pablo. And then
yes.
Pablo, yeah.
So
Crazy. Yeah.
Ram Dass's technique about breathing in, say you breathe in source energy, you exhale it out into your future timeline, and then it comes back to you as source energy, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so I made an adept to that because of the chakra system and then the beliefs we hold and different feelings we have. Breathe in source energy all the way down, clear, exhale out into your future, and it comes back to you as experience,
Oh, it's
right?
beautiful.
And you send it back to source. You see, you and I were talking about the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but it get more visual now. I love that.
And so the clearer you make this, send it out, and then it comes back to you as experience, and you send that experience back up to source. You see, now you clear your timeline. There is nothing but this. You come back to the point zero. You come back to 0 point, which is it's you breathing in, exhaling, and from your future comes to you this source energy, and then you send it back up as experience. It'll clear your timeline. Boom, just like that. But I've had experiences with shifting timelines and quickly shifting timelines and things like that. So I know it's possible, and it's my desire for people out there to experience it too. That 1 minute you can be living this sort of lifetime with all the these are all the this equals that, this happens now, and that happens, and you can just boom pop out of that, and in the next moment or the next day be living a different timeline where nothing of that equals nothing of that. And so you go through the dissonance like you talk about. There's a period of that dissonance and then pop through, and as long as you get used to this vibration that this happens, then you don't freak out in the dissonance and reach for the old vibration anymore. You just go, oh, here we go. I'm a shifting. Right? Did we talk too long now?
I don't know. I feel like we could talk for at least another 2 hours.
Yeah.
A final question came to me that I want to ask you.
Sure.
It comes from a parable where I was doing this deep quantum healing for a friend of mine, and he's a healer himself. And then he's telling me, and if he's listening and watching this, he'll probably know that it's him. And he was so happy for me. He's like, I'm so happy for you now, Eyvaa, that you're really shining and you're doing what you're supposed to do. And then I looked at him and I said, I'm not really doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm doing what I have to do so we can all do what we came here to do, which is do.
Yeah.
Be present in all that we want to experience. And so that's a part of it. Like I love inspiring people, and I want to bring that with me, that as I am merging into a reality where I am completely in this new earth vibration, this template that already exists. We can call it whatever you may, right? I want to bring that with me, that I will keep on inspiring people to be the best they can be, right? And I will inspire people through communication, through expression. And so my question to you is, what do you want to do? What are you doing? What do you see yourself doing? If there will be no more, there would be no more need for, or people wouldn't believe that there would be any more need for evolution, where everybody would completely be present, be in that connection with source, but still choose to be human. What would you do?
So I need a little clarification before I answer that. and that is that. Are you saying people are already done and ascended? What would I do then with my life?
Yeah. I mean, evolution is constant, right? Change is constant. We're always changing. We're always here to reflect and to inspire. But how would your work look like? Or what would your work look like? How would it be different if we would all have ascended and transcended that, I guess, the template that we're now in that is very enslaving of our own expression, where people are more liberated, basically, where they can choose for themselves, imagine for themselves, create for themselves, inspire themselves, you know?
I would imagine that I would continue doing what I'm doing, only on a different level. Because when I look back, when I first started 20 years ago, it was a really hard stretch to even talk about the fact that people create their own reality. Nobody believed that, right? So, I mean, here I was ahead of my time then, explaining how that works and how you create your own reality, how do you manifest your own reality, right? But there was a lot of things I couldn't say because it was just too much. Over the years now, I'm noticing that people are coming to me and they already know they manifest their own reality. They just want to do it better. And so now I can bring in more information that I brought in as a child and already knew. Right? It opens me up with every step in the way. I get to open up even more. Right? Now I have experienced places where I go in my internal world of things and I can literally move something aside, move, an idea or maybe a dis-ease. I can change the color. There's a lot more that I can't even share with people because it's too much, right? How do you get to that headspace, right? And I think that as we evolve, and I don't know, maybe there will come a time when there's no need for any sort of healers. And I don't know what I'd do then. Maybe just go sit by the beach. My whole life, ever since I was a child, and I'm not kidding you, since I was 3 years old, I was standing on an apple box teaching about the power of love. And they laughed at me because I was 3 years old. But I remember that, and that really bothered me that they laughed at me because I was serious. I really wanted them to get it. I've been on this since I got here. It's an odd thing for me to even think of an end of it.
It's amazing that you have been and that you chose to do that, because it's very, 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 very rare. Like, I see very few people that have gone through that lifespan with complete awareness all the time, or with that willingness to continue to return to, like you say, 0 point or source all the time, ongoing. So I thank you for that. Thank you for wanting to do that.
I came in that way, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the painting that Violetta did for me, the one with the bird-headed man stepping with Horus with the wings. She painted me coming into this world, and that's what I described, not as Horus, but that's what she did. I mean, when I seen that painting, the hair just rose up on on every part of me. But what I do remember is holding two orbs in my hands before coming here and holding them to my chest. And as I did, I loved myself into being here because there was something that I needed to do here. Right. And so from childhood, I've remembered.
Wow.
Even before I was born, I remembered. And that was odd for my parents, me describing their wedding day and them telling me there's no way you could know that. How did you know that? And I says, because I was a ball of light flowing around. And then I entered into an old woman and looked through her eyes to have the full experience.
Wow.
And that woman was my great grandmother after we figured it out who that was. But so odd things have happened to me my whole life in that way to keep me on point. There's many more things that has happened, but we don't have time for that today.
No, we don't. Well, we do, but we can keep that
for another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that.
Blessings.
Blessings. Thank you for your patience. All in all, overall.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
You see, I know that that's within everyone. I know we came in. I know that we came in. I know that we were children that knew things before we got hypnotized. Because I could talk to adults now and they say, I wish I could go back to when I was a child. I felt so connected then. And I started to realize, oh my gosh, there's a piece here, a huge piece. Most of this piece is buried under trauma, abuse, whatever. And so people don't look all the way back, right? They only come up to this part and then they don't go there. Yeah. So anyway, and that's what I help people do. Open that up.
Yeah, open that up. And I feel like for me, like I remember too, but I didn't allow myself to remember, like you say, because I was constantly met by shame and torture. And
yes,
in all the other lifetimes that I can remember and recall, I have been met with shame and torture. And nobody has ever listened to my advice, even though my advice is not even an advice. It's just simply information. It is information. I am the messenger. Use that and utilize it. But still, to this day, people don't listen. But I am okay with it now because I know it does not connect to me or that part of my soul that I am. It connects to how much they can receive of it and how much they want to receive of themselves and their own truth. And sometimes that can be too painful to feel into right away.
You know what? The little girl that remembers it all. I see you. I recognize you. And thank you for coming out and helping so many people. So that's what we do. We put our hand on our heart and we go back to that little boy, that little girl. And we say, I see you. I love you. Yeah. And I know what you have to say is very important. Right? That's the beginning process of it.
That's what we keep on getting back to as well. To continue to.
That energy will begin to spread throughout your timeline. You'll see what a goof up all of it was. All it was just wearing a mask and trying to pretend to be somebody else. And it'll flow all the way up your timeline, this original who you are will flow all the way up through your timeline to your present moment, and then you become that again.
Yeah.
You set it free.
Yes. I mean, I've never been captive by it because I've never been able to really manage to play that role, no matter how hard I tried. Like, I was always kicking and screaming and fighting.
I know. Yeah.
It doesn't really fit, you know? It's like, what do I do with this? But I appreciate everybody that's really, you know, trying on that experience too, because like you say, you know, like, how else would we know what it feels like? Now we know what is dissonance, and now we know what is resonance, and now we can choose even further what we want.
Yeah, no.
Yes. Thank you for inspiring me so much. You inspire me so much, Dwaine. So much.
Well, thank you. You as well. You inspire me. Your vibration, how you speak. You're speaking. When you speak, you're actually it's not your talking that's doing it. It's the vibrational frequency that you put out that people are remembering. They'll remember home. That feeling. And as you do that, they're remembering. Yes, there can be the information, some of it too, but it is that vibration, that frequency.
It's the lullaby to wake you up.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, blessings to you.
Blessings to you. Thank you so much. I love you.
I love you too.
You take care of yourself and everyone that's around you.
Thank you for inviting me to this.
My pleasure. My pleasure.